Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Soul Goals Podcast. I'm Dawn, and right next to me, we have.
I'm Dixie. Woohoo!
Yes. How
Oh,
are you
sorry, my
today,
camera.
friend?
I'm great. My camera just kind of tilted. Sorry.
Oh, you're
Yeah,
good.
doing great.
Yeah. Tell me about your day so far.
My
This is a
day so
loaded
far.
question, by the way.
Well, I'm running a little behind the gamut because I slept in against my
Oh,
will.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I should back up and let everybody know that this week's episode is called Hello Sunshine. And specifically, Dixie and I's challenge for this week was to not hit the snooze button, right?
Mm.
How incredibly hard is that? How incredibly hard? Because I'm going to tell you, I was not successful.
um, I let's just start with today and we'll move backwards
Okay.
for me.
Okay.
I this morning, I worked late I closed the restaurant last night, and so I came in and I have to wind down. I just can't walk in the door, like take a shower and go to bed. I'm not one
Right.
of those people. I have to, you know, sit for a minute and just kind of, let the day kind of whatever. Take a, sometimes I take a long bath or sometimes I take a shower, and then before I go to bed. So it was
Yeah.
probably, it was late when I went to bed, but I set my alarm because I had lots of things I wanted to get done this morning. I needed to work out. I wanted to get some sourdough bacon, all the things.
Yeah.
And so I'm obsessed with sourdough right now, by the way. So anyway,
Right.
I right. So I set my alarm, and I think in an effort to fail and push snooze, I turned it off. Girl, I slept till
Wait.
11:30.
Wait, 11:30?
11:30.
Okay, so
This
I
is
know you said
why,
you overslept, but
yes,
wow, okay, you needed the sleep.
evidently 11:30, and then I woke up and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like we're recording at 2. Like I'm drinking coffee. It's 2 in the afternoon. What am I doing?" Um, so I got up and I did like a little bit of my morning routine, and but everything's off now. Like
Yeah.
I'm I'm only, 4 hours behind schedule today, but
Well,
us recording was the only thing that had like a hard time on it. So I'm
yeah.
just gonna do what I can do for the rest of the day and enjoy it. But I feel energized, I guess so, after getting 11 and a half hours of sleep.
Whoa, that's a lot of sleep.
That's crazy. Like I went
Yeah.
to bed at like 12:30.
Oh
That's
god.
11 hours, right?
Yeah, 12:30 to 11:30 is 11 hours. For sure.
Right.
Well, I'm just
Anyway.
gonna go on record and say that you needed it. I think it's apropos that this week we were talking about the snooze button and
Right?
you were like, "I didn't even hit the snooze. I must have
I
turned the whole dang thing off."
in like and I rare you know how sometimes when you're asleep and you really don't, it's like a it feels like a dream, you don't really remember it. Like
Yeah.
I don't really, like I remember the alarm going off, but I don't recall turning it off. So I guess I was just still asleep.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then I was
I've
like,
done that.
so much so it bothered me so much so that when I got up, I set it for 11:50 just to make sure it was working. I was like, is this
You're
thing on?
like, something's broken
Right?
here.
Something's
Yeah.
broken. It's an iPhone. Is this thing working? So
Oh
anyway,
my gosh. Well, no, I
but
tend to panic if that's the case, but I will let you know my week of not hitting the snooze button. If I had to calculate it in percentages of success versus failure, I
yeah.
would say I was 5% successful and
Well, there you go.
95% failure.
Unsuccessful. Let's say unsuccessful. You are
Yeah.
95% learning.
Oh, I like it. Look at you turning that into a
Yeah.
positive.
Right, right. No,
Yes.
I am the queen of snooze. I love it. I set 2 alarms typically when
Mhm.
we're not having a little challenge. I
Yeah.
set an alarm. Say if I have to be at work at 7 a.m., I want to be out of the bed by 5 because I want to have my morning routine. I want to slow roll it,
Yeah.
whatever. So I will set an alarm for like an hour, 45 minutes to an hour before I actually need to be up
Okay.
so that I can snooze all the way through. My
Okay.
husband is so gracious. I'm sure he hears it every 9 minutes for an
Yeah.
hour
So
until I get
that
up.
brought on a conversation with my husband about
Oh,
this.
did it?
I let him know. I was like, "This is our challenge this week." And when I first told him, he looked at me and just went, I mean, he's nearly spit his drink out across the table at me. 'Cause he's
Right.
like, "You are the queen of the 9-minute snooze." Like, I will set my it's an hour and 15 minutes after that initial alarm goes off before I'm rolling out of bed. The only when I say I was 5% successful and what you said, 95% learning,
There
right?
you go.
The 5% was just because I knew we had to be on the road at a certain time to go
Oh,
out
yeah.
of town. And I knew that if I didn't get up at that time, like and then I almost feel like I didn't sleep well because my brain was I'd wake up and my brain is like, "Oh my God, what time is it? Do I need to get up? I need to get up."
Yeah,
But
that's
this
me. That's me. When I open the restaurant, I don't sleep well. I'm like up every couple hours. And those were the days that I was successful was when I had to be at work
yeah,
early.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I got right on up because I needed to. And I set the alarm for the time that I had to be up.
Okay.
So yeah, I think we probably tied in our efforts this week.
If we were
And
measuring.
I just love sleep. We were talking about it
Yes.
at work yesterday. I said, I'm a napper. I can sleep anytime.
Yep.
You give me, because my boss just got back from a trip to Barcelona and he's talking about how they do siestas.
Yeah.
Like everything closes for like 2 hours in the afternoon and then everybody goes home and has a rest and then comes back and
Oh,
finishes their day. And I said, oh my gosh, I would thrive. I would
so would
thrive.
I. Yeah.
I get up, do your morning, eat your lunch, take a 2 hour nap, do your
Yeah.
evening, go to bed.
Yeah.
That's the dream right there.
Well, I will tell you, I feel so super blessed to be able to be working from home on different projects that I do and the work that I do with my husband,
Mhm.
and work that I do with clients and the voiceover stuff that I'm doing. I just am able to schedule those siestas in my day,
Yeah.
which I love.
That's
A good
awesome.
20-minute nap will absolutely recharge me, but one of my daughters said if she takes a 20-minute nap in the afternoon, she's like, "Done." She's like, I can't function the rest of the day." So, it
Yeah.
affects people differently, and I feel like some of that is probably that REM sleep that
Hmm.
happens or rather maybe doesn't happen. I don't know scientifically all about that, but I wonder because you talked about, um, totally hitting that alarm button and, like, not remembering it, and then the snoozing.
Yes.
I wanna give you and myself a little bit of some off the hookness here because
Yes.
I was reading about it this morning as I was drinking my coffee prepping for this episode, and,
Hmm.
they are now saying that it is okay in moderation to hit those extra 9 minutes to prep your body to wake up,
Huh.
right?
And I
So
want to know, do we know who decided that it was going to be 9 minutes?
I don't
Like
know. That brings me to a whole other thing. Who are these they people that you
they,
talk about?
right.
Who did I just say? They.
Right.
They are
They,
now saying,
the experts who
yeah,
think 9 minutes is crucial. Like, did they test it and say, oh, 12 minutes is too long, 8 minutes is too short? We're going to go nine.
going
I mean,
9.
how do you decide? I don't know.
Stay
But it's
tuned.
always been nine as long as I can remember.
You're right, it has been. I mean, since I was a child and I had an alarm clock, I was so excited about getting that. I think I was in 1st or 2nd grade when my mom and dad were like, "Hey, we're gonna get you an alarm clock. You can start getting up on your own and trying all that."
Yeah.
And I was so excited about my alarm clock, and I never hit the snooze when I was a kid because it was just an exciting thing to do. I was like, "Woof, I
Hmm.
had this cool thing." But, I think it dates back to a long time ago. There has to be something scientific about that
About the
9-minute
nine
mark.
minutes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Now
guess so. But I heard
here's
you said they say they're kind of changing their tune and that it's a little
yeah.
better.
So
Because,
the tune is being changed slightly, but let me just also reiterate that their point is you shouldn't go back to sleep fully. Like, that's
right,
not me. What their
I
point
feel
is
like
is
I
they're
go back to
saying
sleep fully.
well, what they're saying is that it's like a slow way to wake your brain up and kinda get yourself moving, kinda stretch, kinda just open your
Hmm.
eyes easily, but like, hey, if I'm hitting the snooze button, I'm probably going to snore for the next 9
Yeah.
minutes.
I'm going back to bed fully. I'm going back to sleep
Yeah.
fully.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, like Cinderella doing that, just barely opening. No, Snow White, where it was
Snow
Snow
White.
White,
Yeah.
where she opens her eyes and she's just like, oh, and all the birds come and everybody's just
Yeah.
hanging out. Like, no,
Totally not
I
me
am.
either.
It's like, yes. But
Mhm.
what's funny is that you're familiar with Mel Robbins, right?
Yes.
Um, so
Yes.
she has her life was in she tells I've read her books. I'm right now reading her latest one that's amazing. But she talks
Yeah.
about 5 4 3 2 1. Have you heard her talk about this?
Yes.
And
So,
that
so, so good.
yes, and that when her life was in a terrible place. She was like up real late one night watching TV and having probably too many drinks. She talks about that herself, but she said the this is kind of dating us because I don't think when you live stream it doesn't happen anymore. But you remember when networks used to go off the air, they would
Yeah.
do like the national anthem and have the rocket ship that would
Yes.
fly away, and then your TV would just go like dark. You
Yeah.
couldn't watch TV until the next morning. That happened on her TV, and she said she just had an idea. And the next morning, she was like, "I'm not going to push snooze. I'm going to get up. I'm going to take care
Mhm.
of get my kids off to school, whatever." She said her alarm goes off, and she says 5 4 3 2 1, and she got up, and she's
Okay.
been doing that ever since. Or
Wow.
and
Okay.
but then she started researching why it was important, and so she has all this research behind why it's important not to push snooze. And
Right.
I I haven't I mean, there's everything in me wants to be able to not push it. I
Me
do.
too.
When I push the snooze, I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
So
I'm defying myself by doing so. Yeah.
yes, I'm like saying I'm not going to do that, and then I do it. So I just broke my promise to myself.
Right.
B, I've just wait. I'm losing that hour to an hour and a half
Mhm.
that I would have if I would just get myself up.
Right.
Or I might be losing just that some really good sleep that I'm
Yeah.
not waking up every 9 minutes. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's funny.
exactly. It could go
Yeah.
either way, and I definitely that whole 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is a really great thing. I've used it when I read that initially, I used it and I'm like, "Hmm, okay,
Hmm.
let's try it." And
Yeah.
then I did it once, and then the next day I just couldn't do it. Now you tell me what that is. We're go and let's go
Right.
back. It's the whole, here we go down the rabbit hole like we do each week. It's our matter of
Yeah.
choice. Like, what is the
Mhm.
choice? I didn't
And does
choose it.
it, and right. And in your life, like you work from home, you
Yeah.
have older children. Like, is it really that important that you just pop right up?
Well, I will tell you when I get my day started before everybody else and I get up
Hmm.
early,
Yeah.
and I can do my routine. And I like my routine, like you talk about yours with
Hmm.
I have 3 different devotionals. One's a Buddhist devotional, one is a Christian devotional,
Hmm.
one is an inspiring words devotional. So I feel like I get all the crosses taking place for me and really kind of get my mind right. That first sip of coffee made the way I love it is just
Yeah.
amazing. And I
Hmm.
get this space before the world. And I've heard you say it before, and I love this metaphor and I love thinking about it. Listening to the world wake up.
Yes.
It's really a great thing.
Hmm.
But I don't know why I don't do that more often, and I think I was listening to our episode today while I was driving, the one that just released, on the sleep with your daughter that was the guest,
Yeah.
and we were
Uh-huh.
talking about sleep hygiene, and it really was very striking to me because she said, "When I make a promise to myself, I don't wanna break it." Just
Hmm.
like I make a promise to you, mom. I'm gonna move heaven and earth not to break that promise.
Hmm.
So why am I breaking a promise to myself? What is that saying
Hmm.
to me? And what's that yellow flashing light for me that says
Hmm.
there's something there? Why are you not taking this care of yourself? Could it be that I'm not doing something the night before, or I'm
Yeah.
not addressing things in a time management way, or I just I don't
Yeah.
care. I don't know. I
I
don't know.
don't either. And I really am.
Mhm.
Now, there are things like I'll set my mind to it and I'll do it. But I, particularly like in the last like year, have become the queen of, eh, like I'll say I want to do something and then I just won't do it. And then
Yeah.
I wonder, why am I not doing that? Why am
Yeah.
I not um like keeping promises to myself? Like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
going to get up in the morning at whatever time, go for a walk, do a workout before I go to work, whatever, whatever. And then the next morning rolls around and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't feel like it. So I
Mhm.
think I think it can be tracked back to, I don't know, maybe a little, some deeper things going on.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Like
would wager to bet.
for
Yeah.
me, I'm not like diagnosing you or anything, but for
No,
me,
no, for
I
sure.
know that I know what's expected of me at home and at work. And sometimes overwhelm, I think, takes over.
Mm.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm just a little overwhelmed by all the things. So I'm just
Yeah.
gonna lay here or, you know, do
Yeah.
whatever.
And I think
So,
too, and I'm speaking so much for myself here as you're talking, it kind of you kind of hit me a couple different things. Like I think that we teach ourselves that if we are overwhelmed and we have so much going on that we're trying to internalize, we're trying to work through, we're trying to process through that a lot of times just ignoring it, we think that's going to make it better.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm,
I will say 9 times out of 10, it's made it worse for me by not
yeah,
just stepping in and taking care of what's facing me right in front of me. And,
mm-hmm,
I think there's sometimes in our lives where there's obviously situations where you kind of have to let it be, you kind of have to let it marinate, you kind of have to let it sit before you can do something about whatever the it is, whatever it's
right,
in front of you. But I think for the simpler things that tend to get us overwhelmed, that if we don't address it, then it just becomes bigger and bigger and bigger.
mm-hmm,
But our in an effort to protect ourselves, we just put a wall. Hey, I'm just going to act like that's not happening, or I
right,
don't have to take care of that. And I think that's a big thing for me that creates a lot of overwhelm for me and then makes me go
mm-hmm,
into that shutdown. And also these crazy little telephones, right?
I know.
Have you
Mm,
found yourself doing this? And I think we talked about it on the digital one too, how our digital episode, how we'll tend to pick up our phone when we're in the middle of something that we're doing that's stressful or that's hard to
mm-hmm.
figure out. And if we go, oh my God, it's overwhelming, the first thing I do is I reach for my phone and I just start scrolling.
Yeah, just mindlessly scrolling.
Mhm. Yeah.
And two, you said something about when I put it off or put things off, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger in my mind. And then once we do it, we realize, oh, that wasn't near as overwhelming as I thought it
Yeah.
was going to be. That was near. Okay, now it's over. That
Yeah.
wasn't bad at all. But it's like we forget.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
forget that oh, that wasn't bad at all. We
Yeah.
just kind of, and I'm the queen of that too. I do that a lot. Like if I'll just be overwhelmed and I won't do something or I don't want to do something hard or that I perceive is going to be hard,
Yeah.
and then I get really anxious about it, or I get nervous about it, or I get fearful or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I
Fill
just
in
put
the
it off and
blank.
it
Mhm.
grows, it grows and
Mhm.
grows and grows. And then you're like, okay, now I have to rip the band-aid off. Well, it's not really ripping the band-aid off because you've been nursing that thing for a while.
Right,
But
but it's time to address it, and I think
yeah.
that can be a lot of that. I tend to procrastinate on those things that are
Hmm.
a lot. My husband and I had that conversation too about stuff with his office work, and I'm like,
Yeah.
How do you operate in this office? I'm so different than him in terms of how I, like, work through things because 'cause we're
Yeah.
wired differently, obviously, man
Yeah.
versus woman, a as well as person and person. But
Hmm.
I said, "Isn't this overwhelming to you to have this here, this here, this here?" And he was like, "No, it's not." I was like, "What? How is that not overwhelming?" But he
Yeah.
said but then he can compartmentalize, but then there are other things that he compartmentalizes that I look at differently. Obviously, difference from one person to another. Look, I'm going down a whole other rabbit hole now too.
Right.
But the procrastination is what I was kind of referring to. It's like we put off those things that we feel like, it's just going to be so heavy. And I love what you just said about it's perspective. It's literally
Hmm.
perspective for us.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
once it's done, was it really that bad to do? You know?
Right. Or when it's done, maybe it was terrible, but it's done. And
Oh,
there's relief there too.
yes.
Sometimes you go, oh, that wasn't so bad. And sometimes you go, man, that was super hard. But now it's over. It's done. So I don't have to
Yeah,
worry about that
Dixie, that's
anymore.
so good.
And so it's not to minimize what you're going through to say, oh, once you do it, it's fine. Because it
Yeah.
might not be, but at least you've done it. You've done what you need to do,
Mhm.
even if it's hard.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
those are no fun.
I know, but I love the way you framed that because to me that gives a piece of hope. A kind of it's a
Hmm.
let yourself off the hook kind of thing
Hmm.
where you take care of it. So we'll go back to our subject at hand, which is
Right.
not hitting the
Sleep.
snooze button.
Don't push the snooze button. Ah,
Yeah. I mean, what's it do if I just stop the alarm and get up out of the bed? Either it's gonna be
right.
really hard, but it's gonna be done, and my day is
Mhm.
gonna be started, and it's gonna pay off really positive dividends for me, or it's going to be, "Oh, thank God, I'm up out of the bed. I did it. I can pat myself on the back. I'm good." You know? And
Right.
I
And if
love
you
the way
just
it feels.
Yeah, and if you just pop up, you're going to get
Mhm.
all of those benefits that you just said you love.
Yeah.
And I do too. I love being up before everybody. I
Yeah.
love the quiet. I love, like you said, the your first cup of coffee just like you like it. You
Mm.
know,
Yeah.
and all the other cups of coffee taste fine, but they don't taste like that first one. They never do.
Right,
Um,
sister. Totally.
right? They don't. I
Yeah.
mean, so you get all of these benefits.
Mhm.
But I think too, I don't know, I'm the same way. Um, like this morning when I turned it off, I didn't even push snooze. Like we just smoked right past
You're like,
snooze. Um,
"Done."
right. And I was like, um, man, because I realized I lost my time to
Yeah,
just be, because now I've lost all this time. So I don't have time to just be, which is crazy.
yeah,
I could make it if I wanted to make it, but I was like, no, I want to do this. I want to do this. And so now my day's off and running
yeah.
with a sense of almost like hurry and rush and panic.
Right.
And I won't do all of that if I just not push the snooze button and just get on up when I
Right,
need to.
right. And, your daughter talked in the episode I listened to
Mhm.
today on the sleep hygiene that she was reading a book, and I think it was one of your books, and he was talking about sleep in terms of our perspective, and, how
Mhm.
sometimes her point was that we go through these days where, you've got those days where the day is so fast and you think, "Oh my gosh, this day is flying by." Or
Mhm.
completely the opposite, like, "This day will never end, it's going so slow." And a lot of times that's our fundamental amount/quality of sleep that we've had the night before that's
Mhm.
dictating that perception because 24 hours are 24 hours. A day is
Right.
always a day time-wise. It's not that time has sped up. It's not that time has slowed down. It's our perspective and our feeling about
Mhm.
it. And that really hit me when I listened back to her talking about how the quality of our sleep was such a big indicator. So I think it might have been easier for me to actually follow through with the snooze, not
Mhm.
hitting it like I did still numerous times if I had taking care of the things that I knew I needed to take care of by getting in the bed at a decent hour to be
Mhm.
able to have a quality of sleep, pop up out of the bed and get my stuff done. Because the one time that it did happen when we were leaving out of town, I was like, here we go, you know?
Yeah.
And the night before, I was like, I need to have this ready, and this ready because I knew there was a lot going on.
Right.
So, I mean, maybe it's just, maybe it's my planning. I need to redo my planning.
Hey, that's actually a good thought. Like for me, and thinking through like time and what I need to get done and what I have to have prepared,
Mhm.
you know. And it's crazy that my current sourdough obsession is
Yes.
so you have to pay attention to time. And
Yeah.
so, like, if I want this sourdough loaf on this day, I have to start wait, I have to work backwards and figure out when I gotta start.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and it's the same in like my life. It does benefit me if I say, okay, tomorrow is going to look like this. So what do I need to do today to prepare myself? Like what time do I need to go to bed tonight? And or what time do I need to get up in the morning? Which means what
Mhm.
time do I need to go to bed tonight? Which means what do I need to have prepared before this just to work backwards so
Yeah.
that I'm more successful. But
Right.
I just get caught up in
Yeah.
whatever grabs my attention or kind of the hustle and bustle of the day.
Well, I think we
And
all do, Dixie. Like,
mhm,
I think that's
yeah.
that's kind of the takeaway for me here. It's like the whole deal of us doing these weeks is to try to grab hold of the things that we know we can do feasibly within our lives, within our
Mhm,
framework, within our schedule. So it's not saying that if you don't do something all the way that you're fundamentally scarred or
yeah.
you're not doing a good enough job. On the contrary, you're attempting it. We
Mhm,
attempted it. That's why I look at it. So I'll pat myself on the back. May not
yeah,
have
yeah.
been successful, but it's okay too. Even in our non-successful moments, we learn so much about ourselves. And
Mhm,
coaches of my daughters, the really good ones that they've had over the years, will say you learn so much more in losing than you do in winning. Of course, winning is fun and you want to
oh
do that,
yeah.
but in your non-successful moments, you tend to learn so much more about your character and about yourself,
Mhm,
fundamentally, the things that you need to be focused on or the things that need to maybe be dialed in differently. So
yeah, it's
for
where growth
me,
happens.
yeah, growth
Yeah.
absolutely happens there in those places. So I thinking about taking away from this, I think for me personally, I need to take a different approach to my bedtime routine and my schedule
Mhm,
specifically about when I'm going to bed. I think that would
mhm.
be a lot more beneficial for me and take into account the week, you know?
Oh yeah.
Sometimes I need more sleep, sometimes I don't, depending on what's happening.
Yeah, I heard somebody say one time they were talking about morning routines,
Mhm.
and I can't remember who it is, or I would give them credit. I can't remember. But they said that their morning routine is directly affected by their nighttime routine.
Yeah.
And I was like, boom, that makes so much sense because
Yeah.
if I'm not paying attention to how I'm taking care of myself before I go to sleep, then yes, I'm probably going to be overtired,
Mhm.
pushing snooze, putting off, and then I miss a morning routine. So that's super important what you just said, like paying attention to your nighttime routine. And it
Yeah.
could be just as, I mean, it could be like as simple, like for me, when I take the time, like wash my face,
Yeah.
um, maybe read a book for like 10 or 15 minutes before I go to bed. That's very simple. That doesn't take very long.
Mhm.
But I feel like I'm just, I don't know, I feel better than
Yeah.
if I'm just like rush, rush, rush. Oh, I'm going to bed now because I'm exhausted. I've just
Yeah.
like pushed the needle
Yeah.
um or pedal down so hard all day. I'm just gonna fall in my bed.
Yeah.
The
And
next
if
morning I
you
guarantee I'm gonna be snooze, snooze.
right. And to go back and quote you on a couple different episodes that we've had already, like we are that go society. We are that
Mhm,
quick, we have to achieve, we have to move, we can't stop kind of society. And boy, it's hard to stop the momentum,
mhm,
especially I'm going to say this one, probably put this in out there for moms, especially for moms,
mhm.
especially for moms. And if you think about when your kids were little, I mean, I loved that early morning time and I loved that late night time when the world in my household was paused.
Quiet. Yeah, everybody was
Yeah,
asleep on pause. That's great. On
yeah,
pause. Love
on
it.
pause. But that time was so short and so
Mhm.
small that I think for me, it probably delayed a lot of my REM sleep and quality of sleep that I probably
Right.
could have
Sure.
had, and by either choosing, hey, I'm going to be more of a morning oriented person this week because of my schedule, and I'm going to take time in the evening this next week when I have a different
Mhm.
schedule happening so that I'm not shorting myself from that time that I really, really value. but I'm also not shorting myself from the sleep that is imperative for me to get, like we talked
Hmm.
about on the sleep hygiene episode. So, so, so good. If you haven't listened to that episode, it's called Sleep Dreams. Please go listen to it. It's so good. Your daughter did a wonderful job of
Yeah, she did
explaining that.
amazing. I was so proud
Yeah.
of her. She did so good. I will say, you were talking about when your kids were little for moms. For me,
Mhm.
when my kids were little, I utilized their nap time for, like a lot of people say, when their kids lay down for a nap, that's when they kind of straighten up and clean up and get things right. I didn't do that.
Okay.
When they were awake, I just, like, I taught them, like, we pick up our toys before we nap, or we do this, so that when they napped, that's when I had my time. Like
Okay.
my coffee, my book, my whatever, or a nap,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, but you weren't using it to keep moving necessarily. You were
Mm-mm.
using it
Right.
to invest in yourself, and that's, like, so, so, so imperative as a parent, especially as a mom, as a stay-at-home mom, in those moments when you're there
Mhm.
with your kids, to take those micro moments and invest in yourself, and
Yeah, and
yeah.
those nap time moments, that there's not a whole lot of years there, you get that, but there's
Yeah. Oh, you're
there's some
right.
in there,
You're
right? You don't
right,
have a
yeah.
whole lot of years to enjoy those naps,
You're right, and then a lot of
but
times you have a child that is, like, 12 years old, and you have a child that is 2 years old, and you're like, "Oh my
right.
gosh, how do I bridge that gap?" That's a
I know,
whole
right?
other
That's a whole
ballgame,
other
right?
episode.
Right.
Yes.
Totally, totally. And yet
I
again,
know.
we have totally strayed from the from the
Right?
snooze
We're back
button.
on, we're on all this stuff. No. It all affects, it all comes back to the, I think how good you take care of yourself, and paying attention to your sleep
Yeah,
does absolutely affect your ability to not push the snooze. But for me, it does
totally.
anyway. Maybe not everybody agrees, but
Yeah, but it's about learning about yourself, and it's
yeah.
about learning what helps you be a better version of yourself that you can serve not only yourself in the best possible way, but your community. You're the people that
Yeah.
depend on you. So important that we
Heck yeah.
take that care. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
Yay.
So I have to veer off the beaten path right quick, because your
Please.
sweatshirt, what does it say? What does your
Oh,
sweatshirt
oh,
say?
that's right. Hey, guys. I totally forgot to talk about this earlier in the
No,
episode
it's
here.
so cute. I
Yeah.
love the sweatshirt.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's called Find the Good, and recently,
Oh,
I just joined up with that company to do
oh,
some
nice.
ambassador work with them, so I'm wearing one of my first products that I received from them, a beautiful blue shirt, and if I could stand up and show you the back, I don't know if you can see it
Yes,
all.
do it.
Oh, can you see
Oh,
it?
I love that.
Yeah, it
Oh,
says
it's big
"Find the
letters.
Good," huge,
Oh,
big block letters on the back. Yeah.
love it.
It's
Ah,
amazing, and it's great quality, and I think the cool thing about this company is that they give 10% of all of their profits back to Mental Health America, which is a substantial, substantial piece. Another reason why I was like, I really like this company because what they stand for and what their integrity is about. So
mm-hmm.
yeah, and
I
and then
love that.
Mhm, and they started their company in 2020 during that crazy time in our lives
Mm-hmm,
called the
mm-hmm.
pandemic, and the
Right.
reason for starting it was because all the negatives in the world and finding a piece of something good, finding a positive in the midst of all of the garb that we were in the middle of, and it just
Yeah.
stuck. So, you can find their products on findthegoodbrand.com. Hey, and also, Dixie, if you wanna order something, use my
Yes.
code and it'll give you 10% off. So,
Oh, nice. What's your
mhm,
code?
my code is the.soul.goals.
Oh, I love it. That's
There
so
you go.
fun.
So you
They
just put
come
that
up
one
in
in there.
my when I'm mindlessly scrolling Instagram. I see them. I
Yeah,
see them a lot, and then I saw you post something, and then I noticed your sweatshirt. I was like, "Oh,
yeah, there it is.
so
There it is.
fun.
Yeah.
I love it."
Yeah, find the good, find the good. And that's ultimately another, thing that we're doing here with this year is trying to find the good and trying to find the pieces that help us be the most integrous, upstanding, healthy on all levels individuals that we can be for our world, for ourselves, for our community, and to do that work and not be afraid of it, and find what
Oh, yeah,
works
for
for us.
sure.
Mhm.
For sure, and I need more work on not pushing the snooze button, clearly, today. It's exhibit A. Exhibit A today.
Same
Oh my
girl.
gosh.
Same, same. Well, we're gonna work on it. We'll report back in a few episodes. We can talk about it again and kind of revisit. I'm gonna
Yeah.
work on it. I'm like legit. I think this is one area that applies it has the trickle down effect for me
Yeah.
that applies
Mhm.
to so many other things that I really feel like taking care of this piece for me would help put the block in place for a lot of the other things that I know I need to be working on.
Oh, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. For
yeah.
sure.
Okay, drink
Yeah.
your coffee, enjoy the rest of your day
I
there.
surely will.
Your 2 o'clock
Alrighty.
coffee. It's amazing. I might have
Right,
to get me a
right.
cup now, actually.
Yeah,
That sounds
there you
good.
go. Have it. I highly
Yeah,
recommend it. Afternoon coffee.
yeah, it's good. It's good. We'll talk about caffeine another time too.
That's right.
It's
Oh
my
gosh.
friend. It is totally my friend.
It's my friend too. And if you tell me we have to do something where we cut it out, I might
No,
gently roll. Oh,
no, we're we're not cutting caffeine out. I mean, I guess we probably could.
we
Ooh,
could, but oh no.
oh
I would
no.
definitely push the snooze button if we
Yeah,
could.
yes.
That's a whole other story. That's
Totally.
funny.
So work on getting up in that Mel Robbins way. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom, popping up out of the
That's
bed. I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it again.
me too. I
Yeah.
love it.
All right. Until next time, guys, I'm Dawn.
And I'm Dixie.
All right. We'll see you again.
Yeah, see y'all later.